Her husband seemed like the perfect man. Their son was about to graduate with a bright future ahead. But is everything really as perfect as it seems? Sarah thought her family life was the ideal picture until a young man, her son's best friend, came into the picture and changed everything. Why would a woman happily married suddenly feel so drawn to a much younger man? Can Sarah hold on to her self-control, or will she lose everything to temptation? Secrets are about to be uncovered. Don't miss out on the shocking twists of this story. Before continuing the story, tell me which city you're watching from. I want to know how far this video has come. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so I can send you exciting stories like this every day. From the outside, my life seemed perfect, like a picture of suburban bliss. We had a beautiful house with a perfectly manicured lawn, a sparkling pool in the backyard, and a devoted husband who worked tirelessly to provide for our family. Our son, Lucas, was 22, about to graduate from college and full of promise. To the outside world, we were the ideal family, but behind the closed doors of our immaculate home, things were far from perfect. David, my husband, spent most of his time at work or glued to his phone and the TV when he was home. The warmth that once filled our marriage had been replaced by a heavy silence. More often than not, I felt like a ghost in my own house. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon in early summer when I first really noticed Thomas. He was Lucas's best friend, charming, confident, and well-mannered, and had been coming over for months. I hadn't really paid him much attention before, but that day, something shifted. Lucas had invited him over for a swim, and as I stood in the kitchen, I glanced through the sliding glass doors. They were by the pool, laughing together. Thomas stood at the water's edge, his toned body glistening in the sunlight. When he dove in, he resurfaced with a carefree smile that was almost magnetic. For a moment, I couldn't look away. It wasn't just his looks, it was the energy he radiated. So different from David, whose distracted demeanor seemed to drain everything around him. A sensation I hadn't felt in years stirred within me, but I quickly pushed it aside and returned to the dishes. Over the next few weeks, Thomas began spending more and more time at our house. He and Lucas worked out in the garage, played video games late into the night, and lounged by the pool. With each visit, I became more aware of his presence, his voice, his laughter, even the faint scent he left behind. One afternoon, while Lucas ran errands, Thomas came inside for a drink. I was in the kitchen when he appeared in the doorway. "Mrs. Carter, mind if I grab some water?" he asked, his deep voice catching me off guard. "Of course, Thomas," I replied, trying to sound casual. "And please, just call me Sarah." He flashed a charming smile. "Thanks, Sarah." As he reached for a glass, our hands brushed. It was a brief, accidental touch, but it sent a jolt through me. I quickly pulled my hand away, hoping he hadn't noticed the way my breath caught my throat. "Sorry about that," he chuckled, and I muttered something in response, my cheeks heating as he left the kitchen. I stood there, leaning against the counter, trying to calm the fluttering in my chest. What was wrong with me? I was a married woman in my 40s, yet here I was, blushing over a man half my age. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat outside by the pool, watching the moonlight shimmer on the water. I told myself it was just a passing infatuation, something that would fade with time. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. Days passed, and no matter how hard I tried to suppress my feelings, they only grew stronger. Thomas wasn't just attractive, he was attentive. He noticed the little things, the way I hesitated before answering a question, or how my smiles didn't quite reach my eyes. One evening, as I was folding laundry near the living room window, I overheard Lucas and Thomas playing basketball outside. Please comment number 1 so that I can know that you liked the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support is a great inspiration and encouragement for us. Thank you very much. Their shirts were off, their bodies glistening with sweat from the summer heat. I tried to focus on my task, but my gaze kept drifting toward Thomas. Then, as if he sensed it, he caught me watching. He smiled, not just any smile, but one that felt knowing, even teasing. My heart raced as I quickly looked away, pretending to busy myself with the laundry. A few minutes later, I heard his voice through the open window. "You should come outside more, Sarah. Get some sun." I forced a smile, responding, "I'm fine right here." But his words lingered, not just because of what he said, but how he said it, like a challenge. That night after dinner, Thomas entered the kitchen. "Need any help?" he asked. "No, I've got it," I replied, not meeting his gaze. But he didn't leave. Instead, he leaned against the counter, watching me. "You work too hard," he said softly. "Someone should take care of you for a change." I froze, gripping the dish towel tightly. No one had spoken to me like that in years. I should have ended it then, should have walked away, said something to break the tension. But I didn't. Then came the night that everything changed. David and Lucas were at a basketball game in the city, and the house was unusually quiet. Thomas had stayed behind, claiming he wasn't a fan of sports. I didn't question it. I was curled up on the couch with a book, but I hadn't absorbed a single word when Thomas appeared in the doorway. My pulse quickened. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, holding up a glass of water. I nodded, and he sat beside me, closer than he ever had before. The air between us felt thick, charged with something undeniable. "You seem nervous," he said after a moment. "I'm fine," I lied, though my hands trembled. He reached out and gently took the book from my hands, setting it down on the table. "Sarah," he murmured, his voice steady, "you don't have to pretend with me." Hearing him say my name like that, without the formality, sent a shiver down my spine. "I can't," I whispered. "You can," he replied, his gaze locking with mine. I knew Thomas felt it too, and I did too. I stopped thinking, stopped worrying about the consequences. I leaned in and he met me halfway. When our lips touched, weeks of suppressed desire exploded like a dam breaking. His hands were strong yet gentle, sparking something inside me that I thought was long gone. For weeks, our affair continued. Stolen moments, secret glances. Every encounter felt more reckless than the last, but secrets always have a way of surfacing. One evening, David found Thomas's hoodie draped over a dining table. "Did Thomas leave this here?" he asked casually. "Yes," I replied too quickly, my heart pounding. He must have forgotten it. David narrowed his eyes but didn't press further. The final blow came a few days later. David walked in at the worst possible moment, Thomas's hand brushing mine in the kitchen. His face darkened. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded. The room went silent. Lucas appeared in the doorway, confused. "What's happening?" David turned to him, voice sharp. "How well do you really know your friend?" In that moment, everything unraveled. Lucas stormed out, devastated. Thomas left, his usual confidence replaced by shame. David and I stood in the kitchen, the weight of my betrayal settling between us. Please pause for 2 seconds. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support is a great inspiration and encouragement for us. Thank you very much. The weeks that followed were pure hell. Lucas refused to speak to me. David moved into the guest room. Thomas disappeared from our lives. Some mistakes can never be undone. Months later, I'm still living with the consequences of one moment of weakness. My marriage hangs by a thread, and my relationship with Lucas may never recover. Thomas moved on. I saw him once, but we didn't speak. Tyler had been Lucas's best friend for years, frequently coming over to hang out, work out in the garage, and swim in the backyard pool. He was confident and athletic, and no matter how much I tried to ignore it, I couldn't deny the way he made me feel when he was around. Days turned into weeks, and despite my best efforts to bury my emotions, the tension between us only grew stronger. Every fleeting touch, every stolen glance, every seemingly harmless conversation felt charged with unspoken meaning. One evening, David had plans with friends, and Thomas was stuck at work late again. Tyler lingered after dinner, claiming he wasn't in a rush to get home. I was in the kitchen cleaning up when he walked in, his presence filling the space. "You okay?" he asked, leaning against the counter. I nodded too quickly. "Just tired." "You've seemed off lately," he said, his voice low, like you're carrying something heavy. I hesitated, gripping the edge of the sink. "Life's just complicated." Tyler took a step closer, and I felt my breath hitch. "It doesn't have to be." His fingers brushed against mine, sending a jolt through me. I should have pulled away. I should have told him to leave. But instead, I turned to face him. "Tyler," I whispered. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. The look in his eyes said everything I had been trying to suppress. Then, in a moment of weakness, I crossed the line I swore I never would. The days that followed were a dangerous blur. We were careful, stealing moments when David wasn't around, keeping our encounters brief but intense. But no matter how careful we thought we were, secrets like ours never stay hidden for long. The first crack appeared when Thomas started asking questions. "Tyler's been around a lot lately," he commented one night over dinner. His tone casual, but his eyes sharp. David shrugged. "Yeah, he likes it here." Thomas turned his attention to me. "And you don't think that's strange?" I forced a laugh. "He's practically family." But the suspicion had been planted. Then the worst thing that could happen, happened. One evening, Tyler and I were alone in the living room. I had told myself 100 times that we needed to stop. But when he reached for me, my resolve crumbled once again. Neither of us heard the front door open. "Mom?" David's voice was like a gunshot, freezing us in place. He stood in the doorway, face pale, eyes wide with betrayal. The room was suffocating with silence. Tyler stepped back immediately, but the damage was already done. David's expression shifted from shock to disgust. "Are you kidding me?" His voice was barely controlled, shaking with anger. "David, please," I started stepping toward him. "Don't," he spat. "Just don't." Tyler tried to speak, but David turned on him next. "You were my best friend," he said, voice cracking but full of rage. "How could you?" The next few minutes were a blur of shouting. David stormed upstairs, slamming his bedroom door so hard the walls shook. Tyler stood frozen, guilt written across his face. Then Thomas walked in. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded. Tyler didn't wait for an answer. He mumbled something about leaving and bolted out the door. Thomas turned to me, his face unreadable. "Carolyn, Diarlyn," he said, his voice cold, jaw clenched. "Tell me the truth." And just like that, everything I had built came undone. David never spoke to Tyler again. My son moved out soon after, unable to look at me the same way. Thomas filed for divorce within weeks, and just like that, the life I had built crumbled. Tyler tried reaching out, but I ignored him. What we had wasn't love. Sometimes in life, we cannot avoid moments of weakness, when our emotions overpower our rational thinking and we lose control of ourselves. A single mistake made in a vulnerable moment can change the entire course of our lives, leaving consequences we could never have imagined. I once thought that I could control everything, that I could rise above the temptations and challenges life throws at me. But no, I was wrong. It was a mistake that cost me everything I had. Now I live alone in a quiet house, a place that I once thought of as my home. A place now filled with regret and memories that I can never forget. Every day, I face the emptiness and the haunting realization of the choices I made. Everything changed so quickly that I didn't even have time to realize or fix my mistake. From a perfect family, now I am left with only myself sitting in a silent room, hearing the heavy sighs of regret. My relationship with my husband and son has been completely shattered. Apologies can no longer fix anything. They have moved on from me, and I know that what I did cannot be undone. There are decisions, actions that once made cannot be reversed. I missed the chance to salvage my relationship, to preserve the love and bond I once had. Now all I am left with are the lonely days, living in regret for the wrong choices I made. I often ask myself, is there any chance to start over? Is there a way for me to get back what I've lost? But deep down, I also know that there are some wounds that time cannot heal, and some decisions that simply cannot be undone. We can learn from our mistakes, but not always can we fix everything. A moment of weakness changed everything, and all I can do now is live with the consequences of that moment. I understand that life will never go back to how it was before, but what matters now is that I can learn from my mistakes. No matter what the future holds, I must accept that the wrong decisions will always follow me. I must live with them, learn to accept them, and eventually forgive myself. But one thing I know for sure, once certain lines have been crossed, nothing can take us back. Life isn't always what we expect it to be. We often make plans, set expectations, and think that everything will fall into place. However, sometimes all it takes is a single moment of weakness, a fleeting lapse in judgment, and everything we've built can come crashing down. Sarah's story serves as a powerful reminder of the unpredictable consequences that come from impulsive, unthoughtful decisions. Behind the moment of vulnerability and lack of self-control lies deep pain, regret, and consequences that stretch far beyond what we could have ever imagined. We've all experienced moments like these in life where our emotions override our rational thoughts and we feel unable to control ourselves. But what's important to remember is that every action, every choice we make, big or small, just leaves a lasting mark, impacting not only our lives but the lives of those around us. This story is not just about an affair. It's a deeper lesson about the fundamental values that should guide us in relationships: trust, loyalty, and the realization of what we stand to lose when we fail to recognize the importance of the people and values around us. Sarah, despite living in what seemed to be a perfect family, wasn't immune to feelings of loneliness and isolation as her relationship with her husband gradually grew distant. Then Thomas, her son's friend, came into the picture like a breath of fresh air, sweeping away the stillness in Sarah's life. The emotions she felt, though fleeting, completely changed the course of her life. This is a profound reminder that each of us has emotional needs that, if not acknowledged, can open doors to unexpected paths, but also great pain. In one way or another, we all can fall into similar situations. But the bigger question remains: will we be strong enough to stand up, face our mistakes, and correct them? Or will we continue to drown in the consequences of our wrong decisions? It's something worth reflecting on, for life is a series of choices, and each choice carries its own consequences. Not every consequence is immediately visible, but rest assured, every decision leaves its mark on our lives. If you've felt the intensity and emotion of this story, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss out on more fascinating and engaging stories. Hit the subscribe button right now to enjoy more amazing videos with unexpected twists and valuable life lessons. We're committed to bringing you real-life stories, human experiences, and moments that will surely stay with you for a long time. Moreover, don't forget to share this video with your friends and family so you can all explore these meaningful life lessons together. Every story carries a unique lesson, and you won't want to miss the chance to share it with those close to you. If this story has had an impact on you, please leave a comment under the video so we can continue bringing you more deep and meaningful stories in the future. Thank you for watching and being a part of this journey with us.